any garden on earth. But what do you do all day? All day for all those years, forever and ever. What do you do without your toys? Just walk around in the garden? Forever wouldn't be so bad if it had an end, even if there were 2 forevers in a row. Miss Bailey is doing reading groups. I'm a bluebird, and I read yesterday. Steffi and Robin Ann are bluebirds, too. Steffi is my best friend. But some days, she likes Robin Ann better. Once I die, she'll always like Robin Ann better. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and I get scared. Then I remember I'm only 6, and I have a long ways to go. Years and years before I die, and I say it over and over. Children don't die. Children don't die. Not good children, and I'm good. Mommy says I'm good. I wonder if that means Mark was bad. I wonder why Mark's mother cries a lot if Mark was so bad. Miss Bailey is looking at me hard, so I start writing in my workbook. The bell is going to ring soon, and then we can go home. The pit isn't there anymore. Maybe it's in my stomach. Once it's in my stomach, it will get in my bloodstream. And once it's in my bloodstream, it will get in my heart. That's when something kills you, when it gets in your heart. The bell rings and everyone rushes to the door. Mrs. Bailey says, "Back to your seats." Everyone moans and groans and sits down. I can see the mother standing in the hall. Miss Bailey is waiting for everyone to be quiet. So quiet she can hear a pin drop. Billy Straw burps and everyone goes, "Shh." Miss Bailey says, "I'm waiting." Then it gets really quiet. No one moves. No one breathes. It makes me think of something. We're all dying. Not just me, the whole class. Steffi, Robin Ann, Billy Straw, all the children are dying, and all the mothers, and Miss Bailey, and the nurse, and those goldfish in the bowl. Everyone's dying. In 100 years, no one will be left. 100 years isn't long, not when you think of forever. Miss Bailey is still waiting, and the mothers are peeking in the door. I can see Mommy in her yellow dress. She sees me too. She gives a little wave and a big smile. I try to smile back, but I can't.
I beat my sister to the bathroom. My dad gave me a raise on my allowance. My mom made pancakes and sausage for breakfast, and I wasn't late for the bus. Too bad all days can't be this great. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day by Judith Force. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said if I don't get a car seat by the window, I'm going to be carsick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Miss Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend, and that Albert Mayo was his next, and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds. And Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back in a week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week, I'm going to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. And while I was pushing Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. No one even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose red ones with blue stripes. But then the shoe man said, we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones. But they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copy machine. But I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk. And I was as careful as I could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone. But I think I called Australia. My dad said, please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate limas. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep. And the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that, even in Australia.
This winter, Pepsi aired a new commercial which depicted a Pepsi drinking teen who was full of holes from head to toe. In the commercial, pop began squirting from all these holes, and Pepsi once again showed us the new generation. So what was the cause of this teenager's holes? Nothing more than the fad of today's youth called body piercing. Today's teens are obsessed with the idea of putting holes in their bodies. Millions of dollars are spent every year by teenagers across the country to have pieces of metal forced to their skin. People everywhere are having body parts ranging from ears to tongue to side of the neck pierced. To some parents, this new fad is totally disgusting and undesirable. They hope body piercing will soon fade, as most fads do. Ironically, body piercing is not the invention of today's youth. Body piercing was probably first started by Egyptian pharaohs who pierced their bodies to show courage, or by the Mayans who were the first to pierce their tongues. So why has something that has been around for so many years become so popular today? In the past 20 years, body piercing has become a major trend and is almost like part of our culture. In the May-June 1996 issue of Pediatric Nursing, the author tells us that one West Coast company, which owns 4 stores in which body piercing takes place, reported over 1,500 piercings in 1 month. Numbers like that are astonishing considering there are thousands of stores across the United States who give piercings. The article also went on to say that the number of adolescents getting their body pierced is increasing. It claimed the main reasons for this increased interest was adolescents having access to information about piercing through friends, television, and the internet. Today, I will explain the types and reasons for body piercings, the precautions that go along with body piercings, the risks and dangers of body piercing, and finally, the removal of body piercing. To begin, there are many different kinds of piercings and even more different reasons why people choose to get it pierced. The most common spot pierced on both males and females is the ear, which can be easily pierced many times. Some other common body piercing sites include the tongue, nose, lips, belly button, chin, cheeks, and side of the neck. There are also less common body piercings done on very private body parts by some people. What drives someone to want it pierced definitely varies from one person to another. Some common reasons are because they find it to be fashionable, they feel it makes a personal statement, they want to look the same as others in a group, or just because they want to be daring. One Cuddy states, "It creates intimacy. My scars are emotional centers, signs of life lived." Others use it as a form of therapy when something goes wrong in their life. They say just by getting a pierce, they can relieve pain. One high motive is simply a yearning to irritate parents and shock the middle class. For whatever the reason, many people pierce their bodies. Of these, most are youth, but many adults pierce also. Should you decide to get a pierce, there are some precautions that should be taken to make sure that when the body is pierced, it is done correctly. In the February 1996 issue of USA Today, a plastic surgeon's major precaution is to go to a healthcare professional to get a pierce. He says these professionals will keep the piercing utensils sterile. If, however, the piercer isn't using disposable latex gloves, a sterile needle, or a sterile earring, it is advised that the person being pierced leave immediately. After the body is pierced, there are some steps to follow to ensure that the hole doesn't get infected. First, the area around the earring should be cleaned with an antiseptic, antibacterial soap or mouthwash, and the earring should be rotated twice a day for around 4 to 6 weeks. There are different precautions, though, for different pierces. If the tongue is pierced, for instance, it is advised to use mouthwash and to avoid spicy food, smoking, and alcohol until the tongue heals, which can take from around 4 to 6 weeks. Even with all these precautions, there are still some risks and dangers associated with body piercing. The most common problem that takes place after a pierce is infection. The infection can come from an unsterile needle used to pierce the body, or if the area around the earring is not cleaned correctly. Some common symptoms of infection include excessive redness, swelling, throbbing pain, and rashes. However, taking the earring out will just make the infection worse. Instead, it should be looked at by a doctor. Another problem that can take place with ear piercings is the splitting of the earlobe. This can take place by wearing jewelry that is too heavy, causing the earlobe to stretch until it completely tears. If the earlobe does get stretched, plastic surgery is required and some scarring will occur. A final, little-known yet deadly risk of piercing is receiving a disease like HIV, hepatitis, or tetanus. These diseases can come from getting pierced with an unsterile needle if the person priorly pierced had the disease. We see kids do this at home and at parties. Hepatitis B, AIDS, and other bloodborne infections are our biggest concern, says Barbara Staggers, MD, Director of Children's Adolescents Hospital, Oakland, California. Kids can have these diseases without knowing them and pass them on to others when they share piercers. Finally, what should you do when you want to rid yourself of a pierce or when you don't like a pierce anymore? Some people get pierced with the idea that if they don't like it, the hole will go away in a short period of time. That, however, is not true in most cases. To get a belly button ring removed, one must go to a healthcare professional. After the ring is removed, the area should be cleaned with an antibacterial soap twice a day. In the case of a belly button ring, a few weeks to a year may be needed for the hole to completely leave. Facial and tongue piercings can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to heal. The time it takes for an earlobe to heal definitely varies. Some people can leave their earrings out for a week and the hole will be gone, but others can leave their earrings out for years and the hole will still remain. In other words, you may be living with the hole inside your body long after the fat is gone. Fad or a piece of history, body piercing is leaving its mark, in our bodies and in our commercials. Pepsi has shown you the humorous side. I have shown you the risky side. But with the proper precautions, there doesn't have to be a danger. So whatever your reason, pierce away and make your statement. Maybe the July 31st, 1995 issue of U.S. News and World Report has figured this interesting fad out. Says writer John Leo, amidst an almost universal feeling of powerlessness to change our world, individuals are changing what they have power over, their own bodies.
Sagacious and circumspect persons attend. This is the story of cats and mice, and how constantly they quarrel and contend. Listen sharply, for if you miss a minute, you will miss the rhyme, rhetoric, and style. The Pious Cat, by Obeid Zacconi. By heaven's decree, there was a cat, in Hathwhistle, rough, rich, and fat. His fur was like a coat of maul, with lion's claw and leopard's tail. All creatures beside him seemed tame. Tybalt was his hero's name. One day he visited the cellar to scout for mice. Behind a pillar, he lay in ambush like a bandit and fell out as he had planned it. A mouse crept from a crack and squeaked, then leapt on a cask of beer. That leaped to drink and shortly drank again. Beer made him truculent and vain. He snapped his fingers. Where's the cat? I'll make his skin into a doormat. I'll teach him. I'll give him what for. Cats. One good mouse can lick a score. Tybalt, who's he? Let him sneer and purr. He'll cringe to me. That cat's a cur. Tybalt kept mum, but in the pause, you could hear him sharpening his teeth and claws. When they were keen, he made one jump and caught the drunken mouse by the rump. Mouse said, "Please, mister, let me off. I did not mean to boast and scoff.